ago, there was a cacao ceremony here, welcoming in the spring. I mean, wow. And we did music and chants in Hindu. And then a few months ago, there was a Hanukkah celebration here. And then next week, we're recognizing Easter. Wow, what a smorgasbord. And I think it's so cool that we allow such a diverse expression in one space of so many ways the divine can show up in us and as us and through us. And I really like that about here. And I'm guessing that you have similar values if you appreciate this place and this group. Now, not everyone shares those values. I know it's shocking, but some people have different ideas of how things should be. And in their world, there's a very narrow road, and this is the right way to do it. And spiritually speaking, if you're outside of that right narrow road, you're doing it wrong. And not just doing it wrong, but, you might be pissing off God, which is kind of scary. And they might even be worried about you if you're not in that narrow road, or upset with you, who knows? So there's different people that have different ways of seeing the world. And they can't help that they see it that way. That's the way it really is in their way of seeing it. You're outside of there, you're out of line. So with Easter coming up, we're going to have TV programs, movies, streaming shows around the themes of Easter. And for people of a more traditional Christian background, Easter is the biggest deal of the whole year. It's the most important day. It was the most important event in history. Think about it. God comes down in human form as Jesus, walks around the earth for a few years, dies, and then rises from the dead. Wow, what could be more important? In unity, there's going to be people that believe the literal story of Jesus walking the earth as God and then rising from the dead. There's also going to be people that have different ideas about that. And in unity, we like to give space for people to decide what resonates with them about those kind of things. And what we'll tend to emphasize in most unity centers will be the metaphysical meaning, the personal meaning of how that resonates for you. So, for example, coming up to Easter, the focus might be, what do I need to let go of in my life? What needs to pass so that the Christ can rise in me anew and fresh and brighter on Easter? Now, if you ask little children what Easter's about, they're going to have a totally different idea. Well, duh, Easter's about candy. It's about, you wake up and the Easter bunny brings you a basket, and it's full of Peeps and chocolate bunnies and jelly beans, and maybe you get to do an Easter egg hunt. That's what Easter is. So we all have different values and different lenses that we're looking at things from, and that's how we see the world. And this can make it a little challenging when we need to interact with people who have a different value set than we do. Now, we can choose to disconnect and avoid them, but if it's family and friends we care about, we might want to find ways to stay in connection. Now, Jesus, when he was walking the earth, he noticed that not everybody was able to hear those things that were most important to him. He had some things that were on his heart and on his mind that he wanted to share, and not everyone, as he called it, had ears to hear. The message had no place to land. And so he found a way to deal with that. And he would find common values, common meanings. And he would tell stories called parables. He would tell stories about farming. Well, they knew about farming. They knew about seeds being planted and birds coming in and eating them before they had a chance to grow. So he told them stories they could get. Even if they didn't get what he cared about in there, they could listen to the story. And he also did healings. Well, health is a good thing. We like being healthy. So that was, again, a connection with common values. And so what he noticed was people will let you know when they have ears to hear. They would come afterwards and talk to him. They would ask questions. What did this story really mean? How is it that this healing was even possible? And so when they let him know they had ears to hear, he would tell those people maybe another level of meaning. And until people let you know they have ears to hear, what he did was to build bridges of relationship, find common values, find some place we can connect. Farming, healing, baking bread, those were the places he connected with them. So what do we do when we have friends and family that we want to relate with and we want to share our most important things with them? And maybe they want to share their most important things. So we got to recognize what might be creating a disconnect. And if there is a disconnect, where can we connect? What values do we have in common? Maybe it's not the thing we're talking about. Maybe it's pizza. But find what is in common. And then also identify where our values are clashing before things get out of hand. So the first step of that is becoming aware of the difference between a conversation about facts and a rational conversation and things that have an emotional content. Facts don't have much of an emotional content. So if it's about beliefs, if it's about convictions, if it's about values, especially the most important thing, those are emotionally packed. Those are not about facts. So, for example, I might say eagles have wings and fly. Okay, we're not going to get upset about that. We're not going to argue about that. I would hope not, anyway. If I said that I saw some eagles outside my window this morning flying, we're not going to argue about that either. And there might be a mild emotional content of appreciation, but there's no agreeing or disagreeing. I mean, there's just an agreement that could happen. We have common facts. If I said that oak trees come from acorns, there's no problem with that. That's the name of the seed that oak trees come from. Now, if I was to let you know that I was looking out my window this morning and I saw 3 giraffes flying around, okay, we're dealing with a different set of facts here. At least one of us is operating from emotion, belief, conviction, and not facts. At least one of us. So from where I'm coming from, if I heard somebody saying that, I would probably be concerned about them if they were serious, but it wouldn't be about agreeing or disagreeing. It wouldn't be about, there's no argument with that. I can't argue whether you saw it or not. You believe it, you're convinced. So that's an example that's an emotionally based one. That's not a rational conversation. We won't be having a conversation about facts here. I cannot convince you with facts that you didn't see giraffes flying out your window. Now, if I heard you saying to me, you know, my friend sent me a link to 10 videos that I just watched, and they prove without a shadow of a doubt that oak trees actually come from pine cones. Yeah, it's true. I saw the evidence. It's undisputable. So again, from my understanding of facts, I would not be able to connect with their facts, and I'm going to see this as a belief and a conviction, but I can try all day. I'm not going to be able to argue facts with your conviction there. I mean, you believe you saw evidence and oak trees come from pine cones. Okay, I can't, this is not about facts. So those are extreme examples, hopefully. But when you come across things that remind you of oak trees coming from pine cones or giraffes flying, you'll be able to identify, okay, it's one of those. It's one of those. It sounds to me like that. And the way to approach this is with 3 P's: pause, presence, and put aside. So first, pause, take a breath. Presence. You need to check in with yourself. Am I able to be with this conversation? Or is it triggering to me and I'm about to get upset? If it is triggering to you, you got to change the subject or walk away. Otherwise, okay, I'm going to be in it. And then put aside what they just said. Put aside the words of what they just said and look for the underlying emotion they're trying to tell you about. So, for example, I was talking with a family member the other day, and they were sharing with me about some videos they had watched and about these really scary things that were about to happen and that I should be ready for. I mean, in the next few weeks. And it's different from the things we were supposed to be ready for a few months ago. But these are new things, and they're very scary. And they also brought up started talking about the rapture coming. And wouldn't it be nice if the rapture came and we didn't have to deal with this? So I could pause for a moment and take a breath, and I could presence with this. Am I able to be present with this? And okay. And then I'm going to put aside the words here and listen for the emotion. The emotion is, it's a scary world. I'm scared. I'm anxious. And wouldn't it be nice if we didn't have to face this? And that was what was being said. So that, I didn't have to argue about theology. It didn't matter whether I believe in the rapture or not. It didn't matter whether I believe these things were going to happen or not. I could connect there. I could hear your feelings, you're scared. Wouldn't it be nice if I didn't have to go through what I'm imagining is about to happen? Yes. I could see that. That would be nice. That would be nice. Now, many people that come to Unity come from a Christian background, some of which they experienced as abusive or oppressive. There was a very scary God who was always, had the lightning bolt ready to get you. And if that applies to you and you're still healing from that, you may not be able to be present for this kind of conversation. And that's okay. That's why you have to check in with yourself first. Can I be with this? Otherwise, the answer to would you come to church with me or a conversation like this, it's no, I can't do that right now. That's okay. And then if you've been around for a while and you're healed from that somewhat, you don't have raw wounds and sore bruises, and you're safe within yourself about what you know to be true, then you can be present for somebody with a different perspective. So, using the 3 Ps again, somebody says to you, the most important thing to me, one of the most important things has been finding God and a personal relationship with Jesus, because it saved my life and it gives me peace. Now, if you're triggered by that, it's touching on those raw wounds, your reaction might be fear. It might be, okay, what are they going to get me with? What are they going to try to talk me into something here? But if you can do the 3 Ps, pause, take a breath, and presence, and if you could say, okay, I can be with this for a minute, and listen to what they're saying. The emotion, not the facts, the emotion, under the belief. They're saying, I feel so grateful. I've found peace in my life. I've found a way to connect with the divine that works for me. And maybe we can acknowledge that. Okay. And then if somebody says the most important thing about unity, and this is part of a conversation going on, the most important thing about unity is that it gave me the chance to reclaim Christianity and experience it in a new way. Now, that might not be the most important thing about unity for you. Maybe Christianity isn't a thing for you right now. Maybe it never was. But for some people, that's the most important thing. So, if that's not my most important thing, my initial reaction is, well, that's not the most important thing. That's not why I'm in unity. I like the diversity. I like that we all get to be who we are. That's my most important thing. But I pause, presence, and what I hear from this is that this was healing for you. This was a safe place for you to get to keep your Christian identity. And you also care a lot that other people have that opportunity. Because maybe there's somebody else with that same background that can find healing here. So while I might not agree that it's the most important thing for me, I can get it's important to you and why, and the emotions behind that. So just like the lesson from Jesus is we can't always connect on our most important things. I mean, of all the things, that's most likely to be a disconnect. It's a rare find when you find somebody that you can connect with those things. So what we do is we find common values. We can find where we can agree. What do we have in common? How can all of our important things fit in one space? So when my family talks to me about, they might ask me, are you going to church? And I'll say, yes, even though we usually call this a spiritual center. But I know what they mean. And so I'll tell them we pray, we meditate, we sing songs, so it sounds familiar. We do a talk, and we have a great community. We do things together, and we're here for each other. And they can celebrate those things with me. And then I can add the most important thing of all is that we're a wild soul sanctuary and we howl like wolves every week. So maybe I won't add that part. Because now they're really wondering what else do you do? You howl like wolves? What does that mean? Okay, so that doesn't do it. But that is a fun thing. So people will let you know when they have ears to hear more. They will ask questions. They will somehow open a door for that. And until then, we build bridges of relationship with common meaning, common values. Find something where we can connect. And then the 3 P's: pause, presence, and put aside the words that are contributing to the disconnect, and listen for the emotions that are being expressed underneath. If you can do that, then at least one of you will have ears to hear the other. So, thank you.